Hello, aloha, namaste. This is Ashtart, and I am doing the video I promised you on Thursday, where I tell you why there are so many twin flames on the planet right now. I just recorded and will upload the twin flame midweek reading, where I actively brought you into union. Go ahead and check that out. The link is right in the description below, and I would love for you to watch that and come into your union. So I am a psychic and a goddess in a human body, and very fae, and I have a lot of past lives that I remember. A lot of them had a lot of war. A lot of them had a lot of struggle and difficulties and terrible things going on, and I was always trying to help people and save people and save societies, and it's exhausting. But one thing that I did learn during that time was a couple of things. One, you can't save people that don't want to be saved, and so no matter how many wars I fight, no matter how many battles I fight and win and lose, a lot of them in the past, if the people that you're fighting for don't want love, don't want a peaceful planet, that's what they're choosing, and you can't force people to choose something that they don't want to choose. And so you kind of have to leave them behind. I've sacrificed a lot in many lives, in this life, for the sake of the planet and protecting the people on it. But the time for that is coming to an end. So, let me see. As a child, I had a very awesome, kind of special childhood, I guess. I was one of those psychic kids who knew when people were about to come to the door, or if my parents lost something and had no idea where it was. They would ask me, I'd say, oh, it's behind the couch over there. Like, I just knew. Or if the phone was about to ring, I would say, oh, the phone's about to ring, and it would ring. So I was always knowing things. And I was clairvoyant. I don't remember it, but my guides tell me that I was, and I have some like traumatic memories that probably were me being clairvoyant. I shut it off because I don't like seeing ghosts. But that was a thing. And when I was born, my mother had dreams about me. She said that a goddess dressed in blue came to her and said that she was about to be born into this world. And my mother had me, it was naturally, with no drugs, at home, watching the Redskins win the Super Bowl. I hate that word, the Redskins. DC is a horrible place for doing that, but watching the national football team of DC win the Super Bowl, '83, and to whale music, Japanese whale music, a guy named Kitaro with a K, and he was playing, there's a cassette of him with a new age whale music playing in the background when I was born. And so I was born surrounded by family and friends, and very gentle, loving, and also the number of 11. I was born at 11:11, lots of 11s everywhere surrounding my birth. Why did I start telling you that? Oh, so when I was growing up, you know, my parents were fairly mystical. My father is extremely mystical, very focused on magic, Egyptian magic, because he's evil also, which I'll get to in a second. He's a very evil person. A lot of Egyptian magic, a lot of occult magic. So I learned a lot of occult things from him, and a lot of magic from him. And I hated the Egyptian stuff. I always stayed away from it. Like the intense Egyptian magic, I was like, I don't like the way that feels. Just feels bad, feels wrong. And he would tell us stories about seeing like ETs and angels and ghosts. And so I never felt any of that was strange. And he had a story specifically about seeing a blue man one day, and there's this great mystery because he saw the blue man and then he froze up, and he was like, oh, I can't move, and he went catatonic, and he was like 8, and then his grandmother and mother came home and found him there and said, oh, what are you doing here? And he couldn't move or talk. They put him in bed, but he heard them downstairs saying, oh, he saw the blue man. And no one ever explained it to him, and that was a great mystery. Like, what does that mean? But that was a thing that he saw. When I was a kid, I don't think I saw that, but there were nights I would stay up at night, and I would kind of sense the presence of like very blue entities, also very blue, and but they seemed like ETs, but like very gentle. So very gentle and peaceful, kind of like Pleiadian maybe, or Andromedan. Men, they're always men, and like kind of hooded with like blue, and everything was blue, and like a blue light, and I would just kind of sense them, not see them directly because I shut my clairvoyance off, but I would sense them and be like, oh, there's these blue men in here right now, they're very peaceful. At that time I lived in Maryland, in Germantown, Maryland. It was a great neighborhood near a lake, and I loved that lake a lot. So at a certain point, I started to feel like I'm not supposed to be here, and I would have feelings that, like, why am I human? This doesn't make sense. I'm not supposed to be human right now. And I was like 7. I'd be like, I'm not supposed to be human. I'm supposed to be something else. I'm human. This doesn't make sense. When I got older, about 12 or 15, I started having these feelings like something had brought me here against my will, like a sorcerer, like a genuine like sorcerer, like a human sorcerer on Earth, some like man, like bald-headed with like a goatee or something, and like white-skinned with black goatee, and bald, like cloak covered with sigils, and he had done all this magic and like had brought me here to the planet, and it's like, I don't want to be here. I'm not supposed to be here, but brought me here and put me in a human body. So I was in a twin flame group for a while, Elise Perez's twin flame group, and there are a lot of magical people in there, and one is Abby Ann, shout out, hey, if you're watching this, and shout out to Elise Perez if you're watching this, and Abby and I had a lot of really deep conversations in that group, which you might find if you like do a search on me, you'll find some of those conversations, probably. And Abby had a lot of intense magical things going on with her, as I do. And one day I said, I just, I had this feeling like, I feel like I need to talk about this. So I talked about the feeling about the sorcerer and what happened, and just this feeling like I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be in this body. I'm not supposed to be on Earth right now. And I feel like someone brought me into this body against my will because they were just stronger than me and brought me into this form. And I posted that in this group, Elise Perez's group, and people started saying they felt the same thing. They had seen the same thing, which for me, when I'm doing all this sort of work, if someone has a corroborating story, so it's like similar matching images, similar matching feelings, similar matching story, and I've never met them before, we have no contact, that kind of lets me know this actually happened. And 2 or 3 people, which is a lot for, something like that, said, I felt this, and I also feel someone had brought me into this body against my will. And I started going deeper into it in my spiritual, my intuition, and going into the other dimensions, and there's a lot of people to all be corroborating the story, so there must be something more to it. And went into the depths of my story and feeling that out. And while I was doing that, Abby commented and said that her husband had been one of those sorcerers. And it was like, oh, oh, okay. Does he remember what he did, or does it, like, yeah, everything, remembers everything. Okay, all right. So piecing together everything and like going into all of the information I dug into, here's what I was able to get. A lot of us are not supposed to be here. Twin flames. Twin flames are extremely, extremely powerful. And when we come into union, it transforms the entire planet. And you only need like 2 or 3 people to do this, not like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. What was happening at the time, because if you remember in the 60s, we had like the spiritual emergence, right? We had people getting a spiritual enlightenment. And in the 70s, you know, things got kind of off track. But in the 80s, things were starting to come back. So the New Age movement really got underway in the 80s. Like my mom was listening to this New Age music when I was born. And in 89, I think, was the harmonic convergence. And that was a big deal in the New Age community. And so there were all these New Age groups that were coming together to ascend the planet and bring the planet into higher being. Another thing that was happening, because we're not alone here, for good and for bad, another thing that was happening was that many other spirits were working from beyond the planet to aid the people on the planet who are building the new Earth, making things new. In my videos and in my group level too, and just when you see me around Facebook, sometimes I talk about like this enemy presence. And I call them the downward spiral people. And it's a combination of different things. Angelic in the occult sense, and I talked about that in the Twin Flame reading I just did, so you can watch the reading for more details on why I say angels are the enemy. Very Egyptian and Masonic, so Egyptian magic, right? Like that Egyptian stuff that I don't like because it doesn't like us. And the third energy is this corruption energy that came from off planet a very, very, very long time ago and corrupted the divine masculine energy and like just turned all the balance on this planet upside down. So these 3 energies kind of form the downward spiral and together, and they oppose humanity. They prefer to see humanity enslaved, controlled, fascism, which is control, absolute control, slavery in the sense of having everyone just perform a task that advances work that helps a very small amount of people, and suffering, because the third energy, the corruption energy, literally eats fear. It eats fear and anger and sadness, like it nourishes it. And so when humans are feeling in fear and in sadness and in anger, it's like, oh, yum, 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 yum. It just like eats all that up. And so those 3 energies combine and work with on-planet humans that are into the game, and off-planet other energies. And they, you know, there's all these like wars. It's very complicated because the ETs, so that's like the worst of it. But there's like ETs and spiritual beings and angels in the New Age sense of like divine presence, source, and fairies, and all goddess and goddesses and all sorts of wonderful beings that don't like this and have been fighting against them for a very long time. And you might be one of these beings, and I am one of these beings, and we oppose the downward spiral energy and don't want it to be here on the planet and want it to kind of like hit the road, right? And what I was doing off planet, and what many of you were doing off planet during the 60s, 70s, 80s, before you were stopped, was you were empowering your twin from off planet, feeding them energy, feeding them the light and love that they needed, empowering them to be bigger, bolder, brighter, so that they could change the planet. Like you were a duo, you worked in combination with each other, and you helped each other. So they gave energy to you, you gave energy to them, but you were more powerful off planet, or felt that you were, which was the case with me. And because spiritual stuff is like amplified when you're like not in a body. So there are some things you can do more powerfully. Some things you can do more powerfully in a body, but a lot of things you can do better not in a body. So this was the plan. The plan was for all these twin flame, unique, beautiful people, partners, to do all this magic together. One person in a body, one person not in a body off planet, and to help each other so that the earth would be ascended and released um, back into the new age. The downward spiral people don't sit idly by, and they are heavy practitioners of magic and the occult, which is not bad, but it's just like saying, oh, the other side is armed, basically. You know, like they're just not sitting and being like, oh, I can't affect the spiritual plane. Like, no, they're fully versed in the spiritual plane, just as you and I are. They fully know what to do, sometimes more so. And what they did was they had a large collaboration of many sorcerers across the planet, human sorcerers that were working with the downward spiral energy, who felt called to stop you. And what they did was to do magic on your soul and pull you into a body against your will. And what this did for many of us was pull us into very unfortunate situations with families that are very difficult. A lot of us have very difficult situations at home. A lot of us have very difficult parents, very difficult family members, very difficult friends, or our home lives were very difficult. And that was all on purpose. It was all to stop your light and to stop you from continuing your work, even in a human body, which you would have. You're more powerful off planet, but you can still do it in a human body, and you should, and you shall, and we are, because we've come so far now, and this work can and should be completed in a human body. And I'll talk about that in a second, but they knew that if you came into your body, you would still, still want to do this work that you were doing. And so they surrounded you with all this chaos and anger and hatred and like very difficult people, very difficult situations to stop you. So you get distracted. You say, do this and do that. Pay attention to this, pay attention to that. You forget your purpose. You forget why you're here, and you stop doing your mission and stop bringing the planet into alignment in the new age. So, of course, they couldn't stop us. They can't stop us. Can't stop us. We're very powerful because we have God and the All That Is, and the goddess on our side, and Jesus. I talked about that in the leading too. So Jesus and Mary Magdalene are on our side, and the source, the All That Is wanting a new dream for us, a new story to occur now, is wanting a new path for this planet and where we are, and not to be distracted by hostility, and not to let these people, do all the stuff that they're doing, like taking advantage of us. Taking advantage of who you are. So that happened, and you were brought into a body, and then it became very difficult for you to access your twin. And even for me and my twin, like, he's Japanese and I'm American. He's 14 years older than me. What? It's such an age gap. And he is frustrated about that, and so am I. We don't speak the same language. I speak English, he speaks Japanese, so we both kind of learn each other's languages a little bit. When we talk, it's all in 5D, right? Language doesn't apply. But in the 3D, language is a thing. And I try to learn Japanese, he tries to learn English, and we know a little bit of each other's languages, but it's still very difficult. There are all these barriers in the way, and that's all on purpose too. A lot of it has been on purpose. They've been trying to stop you from reuniting your twin. The downward spiral actively doesn't want you to reunite with your twin. And there's a beautiful force, and they don't want that. So the good news, the gospel, the good news is that all things are for a reason, even the terrible things. So, sometimes a terrible thing will happen, but then it propels this other new thing. Free will and fate are both things. They both occur. So free will is a thing, but fate is also a thing. And some things are necessary to happen, regardless of how it happens. It must absolutely happen. And what the downward spiral doesn't understand is that, you can try to reroute and say, I'm going to stop you from doing that, but fate will be like, just like the river, okay, well, it's going to happen this way instead. So what's happened is we're all in human bodies, but then all of our off-planet friends, all of our ET friends and our angelic in the New Age sense friends, and all of our fairy friends and God and goddess friends and all the other good spirits out there, they have been helping us while we've been attacked. They've been helping us our entire lives to do what we need to do, to live on the new earth in this peaceful age that we're entering into. And so your path now is in a human body. Your path now is to reunite with your twin in a human body, and then that's how you stop the corruption, stop the downward spiral, and reach your ascension in the new age for yourself, and all things are good with you. That's how you stop this cycle that we've been in for hundreds of millions of years, where evil has existed, because it's not supposed to exist in this galaxy, actually. Evil's not supposed to exist in this galaxy. It's not part of this creation. It's foreign to this universe, made its way here, and it's very frustrating, but it is true. And it's frustrating to me because I've been fighting it for like hundreds of thousands of years and many lifetimes, and keep trying to get it to go away, and it's like, no, this is like frustrating. But this is the time. This is the time, and it's not all up to me. It's not all up to you. It's up to all of us together to do this. So hopefully that was helpful. And before you go, I'll just share one card with you because I've been shuffling. It's the Singer of the Chalice. It's upside down, and that just means, you know, like, search into your feelings for what I'm saying. And if you feel it applies to you, if you feel like it resonates with you, there's a reason that you're watching this. It's not just like, you know, to get this information. I'm not trying to just like mess with your head. You know, I'm not trying to make you feel like, oh, you don't belong here. I'm not trying to make you feel like your life is a mistake. Your life is not a mistake. Your life has been rerouted into another version, but your life is not a mistake. Your life is purposeful. Fate and free will are both things. And so even though what was not supposed to happen happened, that was supposed to happen, right? All things are supposed to happen, even though we have free will and we're like, I'm choosing this, I'm choosing that. There are no mistakes at the same time. It's a paradox. So you are here for a reason. You are here on purpose. You deserve to be here. You belong here. You belong on Earth. If you felt you always supposed to be here, that is true. If you felt you have a mission since you're a young child, that is true. If you felt like you've always known where to go and what to do, that is true. At the same time, if what I said resonates with you and feels like it's relevant to you, search in your feelings and see if you identify this force, this energy that's in your life. And the reason that you want to do that is so they cannot interfere with you anymore. That's the only reason. Because they will keep trying. And the way that you stop them is by being aware of who and what they are. Okay, that's all I have for you. Aloha.